Welcome back to another episode of Dota Basics. In this episode, we're going to cover vision, obstacles, and warding. Thanks again to Red Bull as well as the Patreons for making this episode happen. Vision in Dota 2 is best explained by starting with what you can't see, called the Fog of War. The fog means you can see the terrain and geographical features of what's on the map, but you don't know what's there. If somebody comes by and grants regular vision, then the Fog of War is removed, and you can see what's there while also seeing the terrain and geographical features. Having vision of that area is as simple as having your hero nearby to provide vision. Vision provided from towers, creeps, or buildings is provided in the same way. It creates a circle of vision around your hero or the unit, and any vision provided by a unit is shared with their team. So any allied creep, tower, or building, or allied hero will provide their vision to me as well. Naturally, the item Observer Ward works in the same way. Once placed, it becomes invisible, but it provides huge vision over an area for a long duration until it dies. Some abilities even produce vision, like Mirana's Sacred Arrow that gives vision while it flies towards the target, or things like Clockwork's Rocket Flare. However, vision from unit sources are limited in a few ways, like being blocked by trees. If a tree blocks your vision, it produces a vision wedge that prevents you from seeing what's behind the tree. Clumps of trees block your vision heavily because it creates more vision wedges behind the trees, and if someone's trying to chase you through trees, it's very easy to hide your movements because there's very short windows where you can actually see where they're going. Another way that vision in Dota 2 is limited is with cliffs or areas above you. If you're on the low ground, your hero's expected vision is limited by any higher ground within your vision radius. The place this most comes into effect is in the river in the mid lane. It's dangerous to stand in the river since you can't see approaching enemy heroes, nor anticipate your hero's movements because you can't see up the hill to the high ground. The best way to abuse this principle is some common high ground ward spots. Again, if the ward is placed on the cliff, it provides huge vision, and because it's higher than the level you're on, that means it allows you to see into and around all trees. There's nothing blocking its vision, and the ward gets maximum vision area. Just be aware that because these spots are so great and so common, it's more likely that your opponents use sentry wards on these spots to check for and destroy your observer wards. Another way to see up cliffs or into trees is to get unobstructed or flying vision, kind of like you're a bird in the sky. Though most heroes in Dota are technically hovering above the ground and not using their feet to walk, most just don't have the power to fly a few feet higher, so they're still limited by cliffs. However, some of the heroes that can get unobstructed flying vision are Batrider when he uses his Firefly ability, because that lets him to not only see over cliffs and trees, but he can also fly over them as he wishes. Now, because most heroes have no way of walking up or down cliffs other than using ramps, they're going to have to walk all the way around them until they do find an opening. If you do have one of those options to go up or down cliffs, you can take shortcuts that other heroes can't to escape from danger or to cut off their retreat paths as you're chasing them. There's a couple items that let you ignore some of these cliffs, one of them being Force Staff. It allows you to push your hero in the direction that you're facing. Or you could buy an item, Blink Dagger, which lets you teleport a very short distance, regardless of what the height is. Now, another feature about high ground is that when a ranged hero is on the low ground and is attacking uphill at someone they can see, your chance to miss the attack is 25%. There's no penalty for equal height attacking, or attacking from a cliff towards something below you, but just keep in mind that mischance when you're fighting an uphill hero, or you're sitting in the river in the mid lane trying to last hit creeps. You will miss some of them. Another way that vision in high ground is important is when chasing enemies. If you right-click an enemy hero to attack them, your hero will chase and attack them when possible, but if the enemy walks up a hill or walks around a tree to break your line of sight, then your hero will stop moving because you lost vision of the enemy and your hero doesn't know where to go anymore. To solve this problem, you need to use a move command to make your hero go to their expected position as soon as they move into the Fog of War. Or you can use an attack move to pick a spot in the darkness where you expect them to be. That way, when they go into the darkness, your hero says, "Oh, I can't find him, let's just continue moving to that point and then attack anybody I see on the way." Just keep in mind that you can't use attack moving if there's a lot of creeps around, because rather than continuing to move, your hero will say, "Well, I don't know where their hero is, guess I better just attack these creeps that are nearby." In that case, it's much better to use a move command instead. So that's the basic overview of cliffs and vision, but vision changes a little bit more because of something called the day and night cycle. At the beginning of every game, it starts in the daytime, where most heroes have a huge 1800 unit vision range. However, every 4 minutes of game time that happens in Dota 2, the game cycles into nighttime, where vision provided by most units, heroes, and buildings is reduced. For most heroes, their nighttime vision is reduced to a mere 800 units, which makes detecting danger or finding kill opportunities even harder. Night Stalker is one of the hero outliers to this since his vision is reversed from the norm. He has a weak vision of 800 units during daytime and an amazing 1800 night vision. While most things have less vision at night, observer wards are one of the important exceptions to this. Observer wards can see as far during the day as they can at nighttime. Having observer wards placed on the map at nighttime can also help you spot heroes because your hero can't see as far. So having them placed on cliffs nearby where you're fighting, or placing one down at the start of the fight can give your team a big advantage because it's more information than your opponents might have. Now keep in mind, having vision over your opponents is in many ways the key to winning Dota 2 games. With better vision, you have more information on your opponent's items, position, and capabilities. If you have more information than they do, you should be able to make better decisions that win you the game or give you higher chances to win teamfights. So with that said, let's talk about some ideal places that you should ward for new players. Wards become available for purchase slowly over time, so generally you should purchase and place wards as they become available for your team. When placing wards, it's best to place them in a fogged location where you don't have vision and where you expect your enemies to move through. Good examples are on enemy shrines, because players will teleport to these spots or huddle to heal or group up there to use Smoke of Deceits. Another good example would be rune spots or bounty runes, because you can spot heroes approaching or see what runes are there and plan a gank around it. The Roshan Pit is another great area of the map that you want to control. You can't place observer wards inside the Roshan Pit, but you can place wards nearby on paths approaching it, that way you can keep vision of the entrance. One of the most important principles to keep in mind for vision is that you want to place wards in the location of the map that you intend to play on. You wouldn't necessarily want to place a ward here if you're in the laning phase, for example, because you're planning to spend a lot more time over in this part of the lane, but you may very well want to do that a little bit later when you're planning on destroying the tower, because you're going to expect enemies to hide nearby the tower and protect it. For a team that's winning, it's generally better to place wards on the enemy team side of the map, since it helps you to be aggressive and push your advantage while you're pushing towers. When you're losing a game, it's generally better to have observer wards somewhere around the middle of the map so you can spot your opponents crossing to gank you, or just outside your objectives like towers. That way you can help spot where the enemies are moving and preparing to initiate on you. It's going to allow you to react in ways that will give you an upper hand and win teamfights to get back in the game. You can also use your observer wards to protect common entrances to places you're planning to farm, like your jungle or in the lane in the early game. It'll spot heroes approaching to gank you and give you time to back up. So knowing where to place your observer wards can get a little bit difficult because you might not always understand if you're ahead or behind. But if you get used to a couple common places, it can make it a little bit easier to take your mind off of making warding decisions. Again, just be aware that if you place your observer wards in very common spots, or if your opponents see you placing wards, that they can easily destroy them by placing a sentry ward. The same goes for invisible heroes. If you're trying to protect yourself against invisible heroes, having a sentry ward in the area can help you react in time to an incoming gank that you otherwise wouldn't be aware is happening. If you can't afford a sentry ward, a safe place to hide is near your towers, since towers also provide true sight against invisible heroes. And since towers provide true sight as well, make sure that you don't place observer wards within the range of towers, because if you do that, they're going to kill your observer wards instantly. Now on the topic of vision, the other item that grants a sort of invisibility is Smoke of Deceit. When activated, it makes you and nearby ally heroes smoked. When you're smoked, you're invisible to the enemy team and you run faster. However, if you get close to an enemy tower or an enemy hero, your smoke gets removed. It does not get removed by enemy creeps or neutral creeps, however. The purpose of a smoke is to move across the map without worry of observer wards spotting you on the way. It's great to use with your whole team to pass through expected ward spots, or in the early game to gank a mid lane, because otherwise they would be able to see you coming during the daytime. Just keep in mind that you don't want to pop a smoke while standing under an enemy observer ward or within vision. If they're looking at you, they'll see you go invisible and they know what happened. And if you attack anything while you're smoked, your smoke will break, so make sure that you don't use it while somebody's attacking creeps, because it could get wasted on them. Also keep in mind that casting spells while smoked does not break smoke. It either runs out, you attack a creep, or you get too close to an enemy hero or tower. And that covers vision and warding as well as map obstacles. In the next episode, we'll talk about runes finally, and break down what each one does and why they're good. Thanks for watching.